I was born chill. When my younger siblings fought over milk, I sat calmly on the side. Live or die, whatever. When we grew up, my sister snatched the better marriage proposal first, leaving me to marry the allegedly bankrupt heir, Adrian Sterling. I nodded. Okay. Marriage is marriage. As long as he's human, I'm good. Later, Adrian staged a comeback and became the richest man in the city, the envy of everyone. My sister came to me, hoping to swap husbands so she could be Mrs. Sterling. Just as I was about to nod and agree, Adrian stepped forward and covered my mouth. That's not happening. Me, it could happen. Adrian, it really, really can't. 1. From the moment I can remember, I never fought for anything. When we were kids, if my brother and sister brawled over the last bottle of juice, I just watched. It wasn't that I didn't want it. I just felt that getting it was fine, and not getting it was also fine. It's just juice. Once it's gone, it's gone. Mom always said I had no temper. Dad said my go-with-the-flow attitude was heartbreaking. But they soon realized my personality was actually quite convenient. Since I didn't fight for anything, they could just give the best stuff to my siblings. Gradually, heartbreaking became matter of course. The best room went to my sister, Bella, because girls need to be pampered. The expensive private tutors went to my brother, because boys need to succeed. As for me, Jane, I got the smallest north-facing room and went to public school. Jane is the most sensible. She won't mind, Mom said every time. I really didn't mind. I didn't take it to heart at all. At 23, I graduated and got a clerical job at a standard company with an average salary. My life was ripple-free. Bella, 2 years younger, had just returned from studying abroad and was waiting to be married off. That night, our parents called us to the living room. 2 portfolios lay on the coffee table. Dad cleared his throat. You're both at the age to marry. These 2 young men are suitable candidates. I picked up one. Adrian Sterling, 28, heir to Sterling Group. The man in the photo had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, an outstanding aura. The file noted, Sterling Group has recently suffered from mismanagement and has filed for bankruptcy restructuring. The other was Liam Cole, the only son of the wealthy Cole family. Solid foundation, assets in the billions. Bella picks first, Mom said, looking at my sister as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Bella didn't even glance at Adrian's file. She grabbed Liam's immediately. I want the Cole family. She turned to me, eyes gleamed with triumph and entitlement. Jane, you marry Adrian. You're not picky anyway. I looked at Adrian's photo and nodded. Okay. Mom let out a sigh of relief. Jane is so sensible. Although Adrian is down on his luck, he's still a Sterling. He's more than good enough for you. Dad nodded too. It's settled then. I closed the file without a word. Marriage is marriage. It's just living life. Besides, truthfully, the man in the photo was quite handsome. 2. From that day on, the house was in wedding mode. Bella's wedding was set for 3 months later, 50 tables at the city's finest 5-star hotel. Mom was busy every day picking dresses, jewelry, and decor, spinning like a top. My wedding was set for a week after Bella's, 10 tables at a regular restaurant. Mom said, since the Sterling family doesn't have many people left, let's keep it simple. I nodded. Okay. Then came the dowry preparation. Truckloads of goods moved out for Bella, designer bags, jewelry, antique vases, mahogany furniture sets, the latest appliances, and a check for $500,000 Mom prepared specifically for her. If the dowry is light, the Cole family will look down on us, Mom said while directing the movers. We can't lose face. For me, Mom prepared 2 suitcases, one for clothes, one for daily necessities, and a modest set of silver jewelry. I looked at the 2 thin suitcases and said nothing. Mom probably felt a twinge of guilt and explained. Jane, you're marrying a bankrupt man. Adrian has nothing now. It's his blessing to marry you at all, he wouldn't dare complain about a small dowry. He should be grateful. Dad added, your sister is different. The Coles are old money, we can't let them underestimate us. You should understand. I know. Growing up, Bella got the best because she had to marry well. It didn't matter for me, because I didn't care. Caring was useless. This logic had run smoothly in our family for over 20 years, like a precise machine. The night before the wedding, Bella came to my room, leaning against the doorframe as I packed. Jane, don't you feel shortchanged? She asked. Shortchanged how? I folded clothes without looking up. Marrying a bankrupt guy, she smirked. I couldn't handle it. You don't have to. You're marrying Liam. True, she nodded with satisfaction. But don't be too sad. I heard Adrian is a decent guy, at least he won't treat you badly. Besides, with your personality, it doesn't matter who you marry. I looked up at her. You're right. She paused, probably surprised by my calmness, found it boring, shrugged, and left. I continued packing, thinking, I'm getting married tomorrow. Marrying a man I've never met, starting a completely strange life. Sounds kind of interesting. 3. It drizzled on my wedding day. Bella's wedding a week ago was star-studded and lively. I went to help, watching her in a six-figure gown, wearing the family jade heirloom, holding Liam's arm, face full of happiness. For my wedding, hardly anyone came. Only a few distant relatives from the Sterling side showed up. My side of the family said they weren't feeling well and didn't come. Only a few colleagues I got along with came to support me. I wore the dress Mom prepared, a simple white dress, no veil. The makeup artist was recommended by the restaurant owner, average skills, gave me a light look. I looked in the mirror and thought I looked pretty good. The ceremony was simple. No MC, no flower girl, no complex procedures. Adrian and I exchanged rings under the witness of friends and family, simple silver rings, probably a few $100s. I saw Adrian in person for the first time. He was taller and thinner than in the photo. He wore a suit that had been washed until it was slightly faded, but his tie was meticulous, his hair neat. There was awkwardness in his eyes, but he tried hard to maintain his dignity. His look was complex, apologetic, yet inquiring. I'm sorry, he whispered as we exchanged rings. For making you marry someone like me. I looked at him. This man had beautiful eyes, even in poverty, his inherent grace couldn't be hidden. It's okay. I don't care anyway. He paused, then chuckled softly, a smile mixed with indescribable bitterness. After the brief ceremony, we cut the cake, toasted, and collected the few red envelopes. Then Adrian said to me, let's go home. Home. The word sounded a bit unfamiliar. 4. Our new home was an old apartment on the outskirts of the city, 6th floor, no elevator. Adrian carried my two thin suitcases up step by step. I followed, listening to his heavy footsteps. He looked back at me, guilt in his eyes. Sorry for making you live in a place like this. I looked around. It's fine. At least it's quiet. He smiled and opened the door. The apartment was small, about 600 square feet, one bedroom. But it was very clean. Simple furniture, clean curtains, freshly washed sheets drying on the balcony. I spent yesterday cleaning, he said shyly. Hope you can get used to it. I looked at this small space and felt it was cozy. I will. He put the suitcases in the bedroom, then took a stack of crumpled bills from his pocket and placed them in my hand. This is everything I have right now. $3,000. I'm starting as a delivery driver tomorrow. I should be able to make some money. I'll support you. I took the bills, still warm from his hand. They were smoothed out carefully. Old, but clean. You keep this money. If you give it all to me, what if you need cash while you're out working? I pushed the money back, my gaze frank, without a shred of disdain. You don't despise me? He asked, eyes holding a cautious hope. No. As long as we can survive. A complex emotion flashed in his eyes, turning into a light sigh. You really are. He didn't finish, but I knew what he meant. Probably thought I was too easy to fool. That night, we had a simple dinner. He cooked noodles with 2 eggs. I'm not a good cook, just make do. It's tasty. I genuinely thought so. The plain noodles tasted like home. After dinner, he volunteered to wash the dishes. I sat on the sofa, watching his busy back in the kitchen, and suddenly felt that this life wasn't bad. At bedtime, he gentlemanly offered to sleep on the sofa. It's okay, the bed is big enough. Let's sleep together. My understanding of sleeping together was literally just closing eyes and sleeping. He hesitated for a long time but chose the sofa. Let's wait until you're used to it. Lying in bed, seeing his figure curled up on the sofa through the half-open door, I felt something indescribable. This man seemed better than I imagined. Our life was as quiet as a stagnant pond, but I didn't find it boring. Every morning at 6, Adrian would get up to start his delivery shifts. He'd leave a thermos of hot coffee and a piece of toast for me. I'd go to my clerical job, push paper for 8 hours, and come home. In the evenings, we'd sit on our tiny balcony. He'd recount the strange people he met while delivering food, the angry office workers, the lonely elderly women who just wanted to talk, the the dogs that chased his scooter. I'd listen, nodding, occasionally saying, "That sounds exhausting." "It's not so bad," he'd say, looking at his calloused hands. "It feels real." 1 month in, I noticed he was staying out later. He said he'd taken a second job as a night security guard. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharper, more focused. One day, I found a small velvet box on the table. Inside was a gold necklace, thin, delicate, probably cost him a week's worth of deliveries. "For what?" I asked when he came home. "For not leaving," he said, his voice low. "Most women would have been out the door the moment they saw the 6th floor walk up." "I told you, I don't mind walking." He laughed and stepped forward, his fingers trembling slightly as he fastened the clasp around my neck. "Jane, sometimes I think you're either a saint or the most indifferent person on earth." "Probably the second one," I replied. 6. 3 months into our marriage, we were invited to a family dinner at my parents' house. It was a celebration for Bella. Liam had just gifted her a limited edition sports car. The contrast was jarring. Adrian and I arrived on his electric scooter. He had changed into his best suit, the faded one, and I wore the same white dress from our wedding. Bella looked like a shimmering chandelier in her designer gown. Liam sat beside her, looking bored, his eyes scanning his phone. "Oh, Jane," Mom chirped, though her eyes skipped over me to look at the cheap box of tea we'd brought. "You've lost weight. Is the food sufficient at your house?" "It's fine. Adrian makes great noodles," I said, taking a seat. Bella smirked, twirling a giant diamond on her finger. "I can't imagine eating noodles every day. Liam took me to a Michelin-starred French place last night. The truffle butter was to die for." Liam looked up, glancing at Adrian. "Sterling, right? I heard your old man really tanked the company. You still doing that delivery gig? I might have a spot for a driver at my warehouse if you're looking for more stable hours." It was a blatant insult, masked as charity. I felt Adrian's hand tighten on his napkin under the table. I took a bite of my salad and said, "He's fine. He likes the fresh air." Bella chuckled. "You're so sensible, Jane. It's a shame, really. If you played your cards right, you could be wearing Dior instead of, whatever that is." Adrian spoke up then, his voice calm but resonant. "Dior looks good on Bella. But Jane looks good in anything. Especially the necklace I bought her." Everyone's eyes fell on the thin gold chain. Bella looked like she wanted to laugh, but she saw the look on Adrian's face, a look of such fierce, quiet pride that even she felt a moment of hesitation. 7. As the months passed, things began to shift. Adrian stopped wearing the faded suit. He started wearing crisp white shirts. He said he'd been promoted to logistics coordinator for a firm downtown. The deliveries stopped. He started coming home in a black sedan, not a luxury car, but a new one. Then, the Sterling Group news hit the headlines. I was at the office, eating my lunch, when the TV in the break room announced, "Sterling Group emerges from bankruptcy with mystery investor, Adrian Sterling appointed CEO." I stared at the screen. The man in the sharp charcoal suit, stepping out of a limousine and surrounded by reporters, was my husband. He looked cold, powerful, and utterly in control. My phone buzzed. It was Mom. "Jane. Have you seen the news? Is that Adrian? Why didn't you tell us?" "I didn't know," I said, genuinely. "How could you not know? You live with him." "We don't talk about work much," I replied. I went home that evening, wondering if I should pack my 2 suitcases. If he was a billionaire again, surely he'd want a wife who actually cared. A wife who could host galas and wear diamonds without looking like she was bored. When I opened the door, the small apartment was filled with the smell of those same noodles. Adrian was in the kitchen, his tie loosened, tossing vegetables in a pan. "You're the CEO," I said, leaning against the doorframe. He turned, a sheepish smile on his face. "I am. I was waiting for the final signatures before I told you. I didn't want to give you false hope if it fell through." "I don't have hopes, Adrian. You know that." He walked over, taking my hands in his. "I know. That's why I could do it. Everyone else was waiting for me to fail or begging me for a handout. You just asked if I wanted more chili flakes in my dinner. You gave me the only thing I lacked, peace. So, do we have to move?" I asked. "Probably," he sighed. "The board thinks a CEO living in a 6th floor walk-up is bad for the stock price." 8. Our new life was a whirlwind of luxury that I viewed with the same detachment as my old life. The penthouse had floor-to-ceiling windows. I had a walk-in closet larger than our old apartment. Adrian bought me jewelry, cars, and designer bags. I put them in drawers and kept wearing my comfortable sneakers. Meanwhile, the perfect marriage of Bella and Liam was rotting. Liam's family business had hit a snag, a scandal involving offshore accounts. Their assets were frozen. Liam, who had never known a day of struggle, turned to drinking and gambling. At a high society gala, Bella cornered me in the powder room. She looked haggard, her makeup thick to hide the dark circles. "You're so lucky, Jane," she hissed, clutching her glass. "How did you know? How did you know Adrian was a sleeping giant?" "I didn't. I just said okay. "You're lying. You've always been the sensible one, hiding your greed behind that blank face." She stepped closer, her breath smelling of wine. "Liam is a monster. He's losing everything. He hits the walls when he's mad. I can't live like this." "Then leave him," I said. "And go where? Back to the north-facing room?" "No." Her eyes gleamed with a sudden, desperate thought. "Adrian liked me first, you know. Before the bankruptcy, he was supposed to be mine." "Okay," I said. "If you want him, you can try. I don't mind." I meant it. If Adrian wanted to be with Bella, that was his choice. I'd just go back to my public school clerk job and find a quiet room somewhere. Life goes on. 9. The husband swap proposal happened a week later at my parents' house. Mom and Dad had invited us over, their faces full of forced smiles. Bella was there, looking vulnerable in a soft silk dress, her eyes constantly flitting to Adrian. Midway through dinner, Mom cleared her throat. "Adrian, dear, we've been thinking. It's so tragic how things turned out for poor Bella. Liam is, well, he's not the man we thought he was. And we all know that originally, you and Bella were the intended match." Adrian paused, his fork halfway to his mouth. He looked at me. I was busy peeling a shrimp. "Go on," Adrian said, his voice dangerously smooth. Dad added, "Jane is so sensible, so adaptable. She handled your bankruptcy with such grace. We think she could actually help Liam get his life back on track. She doesn't need much to be happy. But Bella needs a man of your stature." Bella looked at Adrian, her eyes brimming with fake tears. "I made a mistake, Adrian. I was young and scared. My heart was always with the Sterlings." The room was silent. I looked at Adrian. He looked like he was about to explode, but his face remained a mask of iron. Then he looked at me. "Jane? What do you think?" I swallowed the shrimp. "If everyone is in agreement, I'm fine with it. I can move my stuff tomorrow. Liam's house has an elevator, right? That'll be easier on my knees." Bella's face lit up with a triumphant glow. Mom and Dad sighed in relief. But then, the temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. Adrian stood up. He didn't look at Bella. He didn't look at my parents. He reached over and covered my mouth with his hand, effectively silencing my okay. "That's not happening," he said, his voice vibrating with a fury I had never seen. I tried to mumble through his fingers, "It could happen." He leaned down, his face inches from mine, his eyes burning. "It really, really can't, Jane. Listen to me very carefully. You are not a piece of furniture to be swapped. And I am not a prize to be won." He turned to my parents, his hand still firmly, but gently, over my mouth. "You ignored her for 23 years because she was sensible. You gave her the scraps and the small rooms because she didn't complain. And then you gave her to a man you thought was ruined because you didn't want to waste your good daughter on a gamble." He gripped the back of my chair. "But you were wrong. Jane isn't sensible. She's the only person in this city who is real. When I was delivering food in the rain, she didn't look at me with pity or disgust. She looked at me like I was a human being. She didn't stay for the Sterling Group. She stayed for the noodles." He pulled his hand away from my mouth. "We're leaving." "But Adrian," Bella cried, standing up. "She said she'd agree. She doesn't even love you. She doesn't care about anything." Adrian stopped at the door. He looked at me, then back at Bella. "I have enough care for both of us," he said. "And as for love, Jane might not fight for me, but she's the only one I'll ever fight for." 10. In the car on the way home, it was quiet. I looked out the window at the passing city lights. "You were really mad." "I was," he said, his knuckles wide on the steering wheel. "How could you just say yes? How could you just give up on us like that?" "I didn't think I was giving up," I said softly. "I just thought, if that's what everyone wanted, why make a fuss? Because I didn't want it. Don't I count?" I looked at him. He looked genuinely hurt. For the first time in my life, I felt a ripple in my stagnant pond. A tiny spark of something that wasn't okay. I reached out and placed my hand over his on the center console. I'm sorry. I guess I didn't realize you'd be so bothered. Bothered? He let out a harsh laugh. Jane, I've spent the last year rebuilding an empire just to make sure you never have to walk up 6 flights of stairs again. I did it all for you. And you were going to trade me for Liam Cole because he has an elevator? I looked down at our hands. The elevator wasn't the main reason. Then what was? I didn't think I was important enough for you to say no. Adrian pulled the car over to the side of the road. He turned off the engine and pulled me into his arms. He held me so tight I could hear his heart thudding against his chest, a frantic, living rhythm. You are the only thing that's important, he whispered into my hair. Do you understand? You're not the sensible sister. You're not the spare daughter. You're my wife. If you ever try to okay yourself out of my life again, I'll burn every building in the city until I find the one you're hiding in. I stayed in his arms for a long time. Okay, I whispered. No, he corrected me, pulling back to look me in the eyes. Not okay. Say I'm staying. I hesitated. The word felt heavy. It felt like a commitment. It felt like caring. I'm staying, I said. He kissed me then, a kiss that wasn't chill or detached. It was a kiss that demanded a response. And for the first time I gave him one. 11. The aftermath was swift. Adrian cut all business ties with the Cole family. Without the Sterling Group's support, Liam's bankruptcy was finalized within a month. Bella and Liam moved into a cramped rental on the edge of town. Interestingly enough, it was a 5th-floor walk-up. My parents tried to call, but Adrian had blocked their numbers on my phone. Is that okay? He asked me one night as we sat in our new garden. I looked at the phone, then at him. It's more than okay. Life was still quiet, but the pond was no longer stagnant. There were fish now. There were lilies. There was a current. I still didn't fight for the last bottle of juice. I still didn't care if I got the smaller slice of cake. But when Adrian came home every night and asked, "Are you still here?" I'd smile. "I'm still here," I'd say. And that was enough. Because in a world where everyone was fighting for more, I had finally found the one thing worth keeping. And for that, I was willing to be a little less sensible. The end.